So one of the things that will often happen when there is what we would call sort of like a saturation coverage story, where with the verdicts yesterday in the Derek Chauvin case, basically every news channel was covering it live. Right-wing media essentially has no choice but to cover it. There's lots of stories that right-wing media will just ignore. But when you have like a saturation story, typically right-wing media has to cover it. And often that leads to completely unhinged meltdowns and lots of really funny things. So let's go through a few things that happened yesterday in the hours following the 3 guilty verdicts for Derek Chauvin in the killing of George Floyd. Here is Greg Gutfeld. I guess now he's a comedy host. I guess he's a comedian. I don't know. He has a comedy show now on Fox News. He seemed to almost completely become unglued when a Fox News guest called out Gutfeld for his comments on the verdict. Take a look at this.
Now, I got to tell you, I heard Greg a few minutes ago, and I got to tell you, I don't know, Greg is off his meds if he believes that there was not evidence.
Excuse
That's
me?
what I'm saying.
What did you say?
Let me finish.
What did you say? Excuse me? What did he say? Am I off my meds?
Not evidence.
You're lucky you're not around here.
Let me finish. If you do not believe that there was evidence that was supported to support these charges, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to tell you.
Isn't that something? Just everybody losing their minds yesterday on right-wing media. Here is a Daily Wire host saying, and it's just so weird because these are supposedly the due process and law and order people. Here's a Daily Wire host saying the only verdict we could have trusted would be not guilty. Anything else is not trustworthy. What? Take a look.
Hours after the judge in the case reprimanded Maxine Waters, who flew from D.C. to the city before the jury had started deliberating to demand a guilty verdict. In fact, she demanded a verdict on premeditated murder, which she wasn't even charged with. And first of all, that whole Maxine Waters going to Minneapolis, what else could that be other than an attempt to intimidate and tamper with the jury? What other motivation could you have to fly as a high-ranking politician to the city where this local murder trial is happening and demand that the jury come to a verdict? Either you believe in fair trials or you don't. Either you want the jury to weigh the evidence and come to a decision or you don't. It's clear that they don't here. The problem, the irony is that the only verdict we could really trust is an acquittal on all counts. I think that would have been the right verdict, but it's also the only one you can trust because it's the only one that couldn't have been motivated by anything but a look at the evidence.
He says a look at the evidence could only lead to not guilty. This is like a no true Scotsman fallacy. Guilt, by definition, according to this guy, means the jury did not look at the evidence. What happened to these people? What happened to due process and respecting the process we have for jury selection and a judge deciding what evidence is admissible and is not? What happened? It's almost like they really never believed it. They just would go with it if it helped them. This next one's really good. Is Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, after the verdict, says, by the way, is there any evidence that this was a racial killing? And of course, what does that have to do with the charges? It has nothing to do with the charges. Take a look.
Well, both of those speeches were about how America is racist. Again, where is the racial component of
that's another.
Where is it? Like, has anyone yet provided the shred of evidence to suggest that it was a racial killing?
I wasn't even.
You know why? None. And then not only that, you have Joe Biden out there saying that America's police, all of our systems are actually systemically racist.
The guilty verdicts are for charges that do not mention race. They were based on the facts of the case. Here's one more Candace Owens clip. We looked at her appearance with Tucker earlier. Here's Candace Owens hanging out with the Daily Wire guys, pointing out that really this is about George Floyd being a drug addict. Take a look at this.
This is literal.
Right. Drug addict. Yeah. Okay, he was a drug addict. He abused women. He abused men. This is disgusting. That is. It actually grosses me out. Do we have no better examples to put forward in the black community? When you think of the word justice, you think of George Floyd. I mean, how far we have fallen since Martin Luther King.
Just grasping at straws. They have no idea what to do with themselves. Going now from Fox News and Daily Wire to Newsmax. Here is a Newsmax host saying that the jury sacrificed Derek Chauvin to the mob.
Yeah, no, it's pressure on the scale, right? I mean, they say justice is blind. I don't think it was blind in this case at all. I think you had political pressure. I think you had pressure from all these activist groups going into all this. And I think at the end of the day, people say, you know what? If we acquit this guy, this city is going to burn to the ground. It is going to burn to the ground. So you had a jury that said, you know what? We're going to have to sacrifice this guy to the mob. And that's exactly what I think happened today.
This was not, according to this Newsmax host, jurors looking at the evidence and deciding guilty or not guilty. It was jurors sacrificing Derek Chauvin to the mob. Immediately after the guilty verdict, Newsmax host also saying it was not a fair trial.
What happens tonight, we don't know. I mean, obviously right now it's still light outside. There's a lot of security around there. You've got a group of people, I would assume that's some members of the family of Floyd, or friends of Floyd. They're celebrating. We don't know what this turns into as night falls. Again, sometimes there's no appeasing a mob in a situation like that. We have 3 guilty counts. The first thing that I thought of in my head was, and we talked a lot about this with Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz. How on earth was he expecting to get a fair trial in this thing? There was a tremendous amount of pressure on that jury. I mean, you would have had to have been out of your mind to vote to acquit this man, knowing full well that everybody is going to figure out who you are, and you're going to have the likes of BLM and Antifa protesters coming after you with everything they got if you're the one person that says, oh, no, I think he was innocent. I think George Floyd probably ate a pocket full of drugs when the cops came up to him. He had a bad heart. They put him on the ground. If he hadn't done those things, he might have had a stiff neck the next day, but he died instead.
I like how it's totally peaceful, but he still has to say, well, it's light out right now. It'll probably get really dangerous when it's dark out. And of course, it didn't. And of course, the things that the host is proposing were debunked in the trial by medical experts. So yes, it's pathetic. And it is unfortunate that so many people are already repeating these lines with absolutely no critical thinking applied whatsoever. And there is one more that I'm going to play for you after the break, because it actually deserves its own segment. It is Tucker Carlson appearing to have a psychotic break and kicking his guest off air when talking about the verdict. So right after this short break, we'll jump into that, and we will have more of these clips on our Instagram page. You can find us on Instagram at David Pakman Show. One of our sponsors is Vincero Watches, giving you 15% off. A high-quality wristwatch is the perfect way to elevate your style. Own at least one watch that makes you feel great when you put it on. You can often see me wearing my Vincero watch on the show. Mine is the gunmetal vessel model. I'm a big fan of the metallic look of the face of the watch. I like the silicone strap. You won't find a better made watch for this good a price anywhere else. When you put it on, you know you got more than you paid for. Vincero believes in crafting super quality watches from high-end materials, but selling them at fair prices, which is why they have over 26,000 5-star reviews. And they stand behind every watch they make with a 1-year return policy and 5-year warranty. They'll give you 15% off everything in their store and free shipping at davidpakman.com/watch. Use the coupon code PAKMAN